not to be confused with the French band Air, were an American improv jazz slash free jazz trio. They existed from 1971 to 1986 and released 11 albums. And originally they were Henry Threadgill on sax, Fred Hopkins on upright bass, and Steve McCall on drums. Hi, my name's Dan. So this is an album, obviously, by the band Air. I found it a little difficult to track down information about them, partly because of the better-known French band called Air, and partly because the word air actually means something in other settings, and just Googling it is hard to find stuff for this. This is quite a short album of the jazz trio, and two of the tracks are Scott Joplin ragtime piano tracks that are being used, obviously not with the piano, saxophone, bass, and drums. Two are Jelly Roll Morton tracks, and Jelly Roll Morton was also a ragtime pianist. And there's one track which is by the saxophonist Threadgill, but actually that track on that track is playing the flute. So despite claims by both Wikipedia and Acclaim Music, I would not describe this as free jazz. This may be because I'm naive and I don't really understand what free jazz is, but it doesn't feel like it's kind of got that chaos that I expect from free jazz. The only one that is a bit less free, I would say, is Paley Street, which is the one that was written by Threadgill, which includes flute and bowed bass, the flute rather than sax, and that's quite unusual in its approach. It's not fast and chaotic like some free jazz, but it's quite kind of open and takes a very kind of free attitude towards timing and towards harmony, I would say. So the others generally start with the tunes and then go on to improvisation. This is more free than ragtime normally is, that's true, but I would just say it's jazz-like improvisation. It feels a bit odd, maybe partly because actually I've heard at least one or two of these pieces of music before, and normally I'd expect it to be on a piano, so it feels interesting. It feels a bit bare as a trio, but not badly so. I feel that is jazz. The timing on the sax pulls around a bit, and that felt a little unusual in some ways, kind of more so at times than some jazz, I would say. And then there's occasional drum or bass solos in here. There's a good 2 minutes or so of drums in the start of the last track. Nicely done. He spends a lot of the first part of the time just on the snare drum and does some quite skillful stuff. So, when I was reading up on this, I saw a quote from a guy called Gary Giddins, who was a jazz critic, about this album. He said, it's Threadgill's key statement on the repertory mania and tradition mongering that gripped jazz in the 70s and 80s, and a forceful refutation of the academicism that too often sucks the lifeblood out of classic jazz. And if you really understand what that means, please do let me know in the comments, because I sometimes feel that those who know about jazz are in a kind of stratosphere of understanding that I'm nowhere near. For me, I'd say it was quite enjoyable. It's a slightly different approach to some Dixie-style ragtime jazz. And it was quite a pleasant listen. And as always, I'd like to invite you to tell me what you think about this album, because I've just told you what I think about this album. So, let's have a conversation. So please do leave a comment. And that's it from me for now.